I get shit done, I have fun, it's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Business Renovator. Today, 630 plus days, my unstoppable LinkedIn journey. That's not mine, it's my guest. And we're going to talk to him about that when we bring him up. I can't wait, but we're going to, because I have a few things to do. What I want you to do is, if you're watching this today, that's great. Thank you for being here. If you got some feedback, comments, questions, ideas, send them our way. Please subscribe to our channels, whether you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, wherever it might be. I forgot everywhere. On Twitter. That would be awesome, because you just never know whose message could make a huge difference in somebody's life around the globe, because this goes everywhere. I'm going to do a shameless plug, though. This is my sponsor, and the sponsor is essentially me. So hang in there as we sponsor the show. I am one of several coaches in that world of Focal Point, and we do offer a number of services. But just by showing up and watching the show, if you would like to have a run through of your own business growth assessment, just go to my website. There's a button at the top right-hand side. Click on that, answer the questions, get the feedback, and if it satisfies what you're looking for, verifies that you're on the right path, or maybe there's there's nothing to do if you're on the right path. Everything's cool. But if there's somewhere where you have a constraint and want to hand maybe a conversation in around that, book a 30-minute conversation complimentary of The Business Renovator. And if I'm not the one to answer the challenge that you're facing or the problem, the good news is I have a whole network of wonderful individuals from around the globe. Make an introduction and see if we can help sort something out for you. Anyway, we're here on The Business Renovator. I'm excited to bring up somebody who I got to know because of COVID. Now, I don't think it's wonderful we had COVID, but when you have lemons, how do you make lemonade? So one of the lemonade flavors I got out of it is Brian Monahan, who is my guest today. He's an author, writer, father, former vet, Marine in the U.S., and he's I believe its title is a VP of the company he's at, and they put events on, in hotels and conference centers. They do all of that kind of stuff to make sure you look good, sound good, and when you're there, feel good. Before I bring him up, though, I have a little surprise. Let me just bring this up right here and share the screen. I think I may have forgot to do that, but hang on. Here's the surprise, Brian. Customer delight. So I'm going to bring up his book cover up there in a minute, but I actually have a page saved because there's a couple of ways you could read this book, Customer Delight 365, and that is from front to back. Follow the day that's on, or we could open it randomly. So today I decided I would look at what today's date is, and I'm reading that one. And it says, the human spirit is stronger than anything that can happen to it. That's the quote. Here's Brian's take on that. Can you imagine carrying this quote into your daily battle called customer service? Create a little mini shield and place it on the cash register or on your phone, and as a fun reminder of just how powerful you really are. Next time you feel yourself getting anxious that you can't continue to deliver delight, remember that the human spirit is not only stronger, but also more delightful than anything that can happen to you. Delight warriors unite. That's today's quote. I'm just going to bring him up. I'm not going to mess around trying to get all that technology. He's got a copy in his hand. Isn't that funny? I wonder how he got that. Here he comes. There you are, Customer Delight, the author. That
Great
was a
minds
journey.
think alike, Phil. I mean, I actually had that page open too. What a wonderful quote.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of wonderful quotes in there, and you put some time and effort in putting that book together. It didn't happen overnight, and I don't know if that's going to be what we're going to talk about today. But hey, you're here.
We got plenty to talk about today.
Oh.
We always have a good time together, Phil. Actually, what's funny is you're mentioning we met over COVID, and then of course you had me on the business renovator when you had COVID, as I learned. So, yeah, I'm just sharing that private information. So if anybody goes back and look at past shows and wonders what's up with Phil, he was barely alive that day, I believe. So
yeah, it sounded like I had frog voice or something.
But nevertheless, it's always a joy to be here, and if that's a great thing about this virtual world. You can actually we can safely do a show while you have COVID. So
yeah, well, not to hang out on COVID all the time, but if it wasn't for that, and where we all kind of came to a common place, looking for a way to how do we deal with the challenge that we were facing back in 2020 and move forward. So out of that, we had become part of a group called Megaminds, and we supported each other throughout the whole process. And for my Canadian listeners, process. And we learned a lot of stuff, and we were challenged. We had what are going to do Mondays and crush and brag Fridays. So we had accountability buddies to help us keep going through the uncertainty of those times. And out of that, we had some friendship. And one of the things that was really cool this year, you and I physically met. I should have had that picture, but I never.
Yeah, I sent that to you. I sent it to you.
I have it, but I should have put it on the. I didn't. It's here somewhere, but
no, that was definitely a very delightful day. It's talking about delight. That's been one of the coolest things out of the post-COVID world is that we're starting to meet each other at conferences and throughout the globe, and it's just weird because you're like, oh, I know you so well, but we really have never been in each other's physical presence. So
yeah,
it was definitely a highlight of my year to get to meet you in person.
And something out of school, I was at a conference learning some things. And when I had the opportunity to hang out with you, you said get together for coffee for 15 minutes. I thought, there's no way. We didn't come all this way just to have a coffee. We didn't get into any libations that were, adult drinks at that time. It was too early in the morning. But I forgoed what I was saying. I decided not to attend one of the conference topics, and come out and hang out with you. And I had a great time. I didn't need to validate that my decision was the right decision. But when I went in and the feedback I got on that particular presenter, I won the lottery. Hanging out with you were amazing.
No, it was quite good. And yeah, I know we had scheduled 15, but I think we took an hour and 15. So, but yeah, that's okay.
It was fun.
And it's been really cool. Cincinnati has, for whatever reason, been a pretty central hub for our Megamind coming in, and I've had an opportunity to meet a number of our colleagues from that group. And so,
speaking of colleagues, look at this.
Double faves.
And I'll tell you a funny story about that. I had not paid attention to my itinerary accurately enough, and I had mentioned and Callum was going to drive all the way from where she lives and it's not overnight. I mean, it was not, I guess it's a long trip.
It's 7-8 hours.
Yeah. It's not just a half an hour drive. Anyway, fortunately I was smart enough to pay attention to my itinerary and realize that I was leaving much earlier than I had remembered. I thought I was staying a little bit longer. Anyway, I reached out to her, stopped her from traveling, but she was prepared to make the trek to come and hang out. That would have been special. However, I'm going to be somewhere else later in 2024, and I'm going to make sure I give her enough time for us to get together. It won't be in Cincinnati, though.
Well, you can't always come here, Phil. I mean,
no, apparently not.
I know. But there is another outcome, and you have a secondary football team too because of COVID, right? You have a backup team that you root for, right? Are you allowed to say that on the air?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so Phil adopted the Cincinnati Bengals, my hometown team, Houday, when they hit the Super Bowl back in 22. So Phil is an honorary Who Day. And we appreciate it.
And I saw something the other day, and I went, "Who day? That looks like white snow tigers."
Oh, I know. Yeah, the whiteout.
And I don't think I'd seen that before, so that was interesting. I also have an affinity to the Seahawks. Sorry, but that's where I go.
No, that's okay. I mean, I like the Seahawks. They're a good team, and Russell Wilson's long gone, but he was born in Cincinnati. I don't know.
Oh,
if
is
you
he
knew
there?
that. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Well, it's two crazy thoughts are going here. I'll finish the Seahawks thought first. The affinity to the Seahawks is because of Lou Tice. And Lou Tice was somebody who I studied, and he's been a mentor of mine virtually because I hang out with him. But also Pete Carroll actually paid to hang out with Lou Tice. And Lou Tice was his coach mentor for 15 plus years. I think when he got fired from, I forget where he was, and he went to USC, and they worked together to stop gang violence in LA. So that's my affinity to the Seahawks. I'm not a crazy nut football guy, but I do like it. But I'm not anal around it. And then the other, I forgot now what the other idea was. Oh, Cincinnati. I'm not going to sing. Don't worry.
WKRP.
Well, I wished I had. I went there with a T-shirt when I showed up from Canada. WKRP, turkeys can't fly. Oh, okay.
Hey, I mean, every year Cincinnati Thanksgiving, it's the meme will live on forever.
Yeah, that's a good show. I liked it. Anyway, I forget the other Cincinnati thing. If it comes back, I'll bring it up. So I don't know what it is about you, but you like numbers because the book is Customer Delight 365. The title of today's show is 630 plus days, my unstoppable LinkedIn journey. So that's not my journey. That's your journey. How'd that all get started?
Yeah, I think, sort of by accident, sort of planned. Back in late 21, I learned about this course called Brand 30. A gentleman named Andrew Mewborn leads it. And it's just, he calls it Brand 30. It's a cohort-based course, and the idea is that you learn about writing on LinkedIn, which is a different model than writing a book. Social media has hooks, and you have call to actions, things like that. And so I was just like, hey, I've always wanted to be, I don't know if I knew the term creator 10 years ago, but a person who is delivering content. I want to write books. I want to give seminars. I want to teach. So I thought that writing on LinkedIn would be a good opportunity. So I signed up for that course. It started promptly first week of January 22, and we were committed to 30 days of posting to LinkedIn. And in the middle of the course, Andrew I don't think he knows how you just can't toss out comments like this in your course, but he says, if you post to LinkedIn every day for 2 years, it'll change your life. And I'm like, so I did the numbers, and that's 730. Now it could be 731 in a leap year, but 730 is more fun because there was the Brand 30 course. So I was like, so on the course cohort, one of the sessions, I go, Andrew, I'm going to cash that check. And he's like, what are you talking about? I go, I'm going to cash your check. I'm going to post to LinkedIn for 2 years. And he kind of laughed, didn't probably believe that was a real thing. And so I just started stepping off and doing that. And you might wonder why, the goal was really not to post to LinkedIn daily, Phil. That's not the background on why I'm doing it. That is the tactic. That's the mechanic. But my goal is that I thought over 730 days of posting to LinkedIn that I would get clear about my brand voice, get clear about what my topic was, and develop a message that was important to me and to the people who I was writing for. And I'll be honest, when I started off in January of 22, I did not know that I would land on book writing and coaching new authors as the topic for my writing. It took me a better part of 12 months, 365 days to get there. And so, that's I've actually reached my goal, to be quite honest. I found what I want to write about. However, I still have to, pay my debts. I have to finish the 730 days that I committed to and went on the record with. So that's kind of the backstory on it.
So why do you have to finish your debt, as you call it, finish the objective of the 730 plus day? Why do you have to do that?
Well, I do think there's more to learn, obviously. I do believe that I met my goal. And also, I believe in the power of writing on LinkedIn and social media. So that is part of my marketing and growth in offering book coaching services. I like to focus on first-time authors. I believe that is the challenge. Until you can get, it's kind of like breaking the seal. Until you do one, you don't realize that it's a viable thing, and that not that it's easy, but it's doable. It's within your realm. It's within your power to be able to put together a book. And so I believe that people need to get that first one under their belt.
I agree with what you're saying, and I had a hidden agenda.
Sure, go for it. I'll follow.
The hidden agenda, though, is if we set the goal to be writing for 2 years, and we get to a point we got the answer to what we're looking for, and we say, okay, I've done it, I've arrived, now I can go and live my purpose. If you do that, then you're building up the muscle that it's okay to quit. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it does make sense. We should stop doing what we're doing if it's harmful, if it doesn't serve us, those kind of things. If it's still on a trajectory of serving somebody, ourselves, then by staying the course and writing every day until you reach the 2-year mark, you're building up your commitment muscle, your efficacy muscle, your ability to get stuff done, to keep your word to yourself muscle. So that's one of the things I see and observe in doing that. And as a coach in the business world and executive field, that's one of the things I would challenge the people I work with to do that. Finish what you start so you have that as it part of your DNA, instead of start something, don't complete it and move on. So then that gives you the DNA of shiny object syndrome, doesn't build up your efficacy. It actually tears it down, which has an impact on your self-concept and self-esteem and all that other. I'm not a psychologist or a medical expert. This has been my experience and where I kind of hang my space, or in the space I hang out in, because if we don't change this thing, nothing else will change. And what you're doing is changing this thing, developing that muscle. I don't know if that's your natural DNA or if it's your military training background or a combination of all of that to have a hybrid called Brian Monahan. I don't know, but maybe you could tell us.
Yeah. Well, first off, Phil, are you going to invoice everybody that's watching today? I mean, I don't know what's the price of that information you shared. That was wonderful. I mean,
well, I think it's a MasterCard moment. Actually, it's priceless.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. But I mean, I would go ahead and invoice everybody $1,500 or something, So if you're watching, yeah, I mean, I want, you are the sponsor of the show, so I'm just looking for additional income for you. No, I agree with you completely. I think you also, you bring up the word coach. I am also a certified coach as well. I went through a program called IPEC, and I'm a firm believer in the idea, when you're coaching somebody, there's you must walk the talk, and so writing a book is very much about a consistency practice. And so it's set, for people to be successful for writing a book, they think it's about ideation and coming up with a great idea. Mm-hmm. I would say all of us already have the idea, the concept already there. What you don't have is the framework, the consistency, the commitment, and sitting down, putting that on paper, agreeing to it, and actually flowing through the process. So I actually have a process that is just as reliable as saying I'm going to post 730 days to LinkedIn. No, I'm going to write a book that is exactly this format, 52 weeks of quotes, 52 weeks of passages from you, 4 stories, testimonial from your clients. And so if you actually sit down and commit to that process, it's a guaranteed outcome. And so, I think that's, some of what you're saying is, so as a coach myself, I have to walk the talk, and I have to finish what I started. I also, it's an integrity thing as well, so, and it's not about the get. Like if I came out and said, I found what I was looking for, therefore I'm not here to help you anymore, I'm going to take off and just move on. No, that doesn't fit my motto anyway.
Brilliant. I went off camera for a little bit because I was looking for a quote, so that I couldn't find it. But it has.
I was scared, Phil. You left me all. He's like,
I don't think
it's like a little mono. It's like I was on the Carson show or Jimmy Fallon. I got my own monologue, So
yeah. But I can't find the quote. But it was about what it's about. Write it causes thinking, and I'm going to mess it up, so I'm not going to do it. But it would be really pertinent to what we're talking about today, and I never thought about it until today. And it's just really powerful about thinking, writing, and by thinking and writing, things happen. We become what we think about most of the time. It's not the quote I was thinking of, but that'll be a good substitution for what we're talking about today. So.
No, I don't know where you're going with it, but I did have a little thing pop into my mind, and I think one of the real powerful benefits of writing is that we have to communicate. What did I miss there?
I'll put it back up. Sorry, this is your partner in crime, my friend.
Yeah, a dress rehearsal for the Right Spotlight on Saturday here. Where Kellen and I have our own show, so I'm going to do a little advertising. Come see us. Our guest is Phil. Coach Phil. So we'll be back out here on the webs on Saturday at 10 a.m. So, but
I'll be having coffee with me as well.
Yeah, we're gonna get Coach Phil up early, and we're gonna go out and broadcast. But no, so what I was thinking about is you were talking about writing, and I think what the power of writing is this for you as the individual. You probably understand what you're trying to do. Like you inherently have absorbed this information over a lifetime, the tipping point 10,000 hour thing. You've absorbed this information, but you now are going to share it with somebody else, and you have to condense it into something that they can learn in less than 10,000 hours. And so the real innovation comes when you try to pare that information down into something that makes sense for somebody who's not going to put 10,000 hours into it. And therefore you learn the subject infinitely better while you try to build a communication strategy for it. Mm-hmm. And that's my favorite thing about writing is just, how you learn, as you try to share that information that you just you've accumulated, but share it with a lay person or somebody who does not have the same depth of knowledge on it. It's just going to make you better at it because you have to get laser clear and be able to share that information in a new way.
Two crazy thoughts are going through my mind. I've had a couple of people say over the years that I should write a book, and my answer to that is, yeah, whatever. I don't want to write a book. And then they keep hounding me, and now I'm starting to think, well, maybe I should write a book, but I'm still not committed. I haven't committed to it. Could you help somebody who is, and not me specifically, but if they're in that gray zone, that they're not sold on the idea of writing a book and they're getting feedback that people like what they're talking about, could you help pull that book out of somebody who's not highly motivated to write a book, but not totally against it? They're in that no person's land.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously there has to be some desire at some point to do it. So I'm not in the business of convincing somebody to write a book. But to me, my coaching to you would be is that I see that there's an inkling that you might see the value of it just by the fact that somebody brings it up to you and you're like, well, maybe they are right. And so so what value would you see in writing a book? I'm coaching you now, Phil.
Yeah. So
let's do it live.
Coaching 101 anyway. So the thought about writing a book, that the logical aspect of it, it's way better than a business card. It's not likely to be thrown in the wastebasket like a business card. It's the worst case to be given to a friend, a neighbor, or a family member, or maybe it'll make it to the garage sale and it's going to get sold for $1. It lives on regardless. It gives you the preeminent voice into the audiences that you're addressing. And one story where I actually got all this intel was about a guy who had actually wrote a book. He's written numerous books, and he's got a few hacks on what you should do if you write a book. So I have all that kind of in the head. I don't have a book. But what he said was, well, he would popped into a client of his who he'd been nurturing and working on having as a client. And he had a book, and the book got to the CEO of the company, and they finally did some work together. And he was invited into the CEO's office, and on the credenza was a copy of this guy's book. He says, "Oh, I see you have my book. How do you like it?" He says, "I haven't read it." So you haven't read it? He says, "Why would I read it? I've got you." So it gives the preeminent position that people may not even read the book, but it gives you you're an author, which then gives you the position of being an authority. So I understand why it's a really good idea to do it from a business marketing preeminent position, but I haven't gotten passionate enough to actually write a book. I've played around now with AI, and I have 2 different book possibilities, all in and around the art of selling, without being sleazy. And I've used that title, and people go, "Oh, I don't like that." And it's, "Oh, that's perfect title."
Yeah.
Right, because it's a hook, as you were talking earlier. But I used AI to come up with, what would be, and I gave it some things to do, and it came up with, in order, the way I would coach and help people become professional sellers, comfortable with it, in 15 chapters. And then the next one I did was in 21 chapters. And it was everything as far as a synopsis of what the book could be about, with what I do as a coach, facilitator, and nurturer of selling. So that blew me away. So maybe I'm getting closer to being less in the middle and more committed to doing it.
No, I mean, so first off, I'm going to say this, and I am a huge fan of this, and I am exactly the same space as you on this. If you don't want to write a book and you're not committed to it, I say that's fine. Like, don't do it. Don't. There is a right time for things in life. So what I would possibly say to you is writing a book is not the right time. This is not the right time for me right now, but I am open to a book at another time in my life.
I like that.
And so it keeps the door open. I would say, by nature, you're going to be very similar to a lot of the people I work with. You're already a thought leader. You're a business leader. You're looking for growth, and a book would be something that would help you grow your brand, help you grow yourself as a person. I would think it would be something you would keep in the realm of possibility for somebody of your career. And that's most of the people I deal with. The other thing is, there is a stat out there. It's interesting. New York Times did it. It's an old stat, about 2000, but it says 80% of people say they want to write a book. Okay. So that's a pretty big number. I'm not sure how great the study was. And then it says only about 2% of that 80% actually move forward with writing a book. So that's my reason why I'm going into book coaching writing, because I know there's a 78% gap, or at least a 98% gap of opportunity there of the 80%. I'm not good at math, so we'll have to figure out what that is of the total population. But 0.25%, I don't know. But
kind of what you're talking about is like the 80-20 rule. So 20% of the people write 80% of the books. And then it's math-wise, and then Brian Tracy taught this to us, me. And then what he suggests, if you want to strive to be in the 20%, and then once you get in the 20%, you want to be the 20% of the 20%, so that you're the 20% of the 20%, leaves it 80% of the 20% are not doing as much as what you are. So there's a math riddle.
Now what's interesting, though, is it's actually the flip on this one. The 80% say they want to, 20% are like, eh. But I did my own very informal study on LinkedIn. I ran a poll, and I was able to get a pretty good, I think 200 or 300 people poll on LinkedIn's not bad. I actually was able to get a variety of people. It wasn't just my natural network. So I felt like I did have at least a sampling. And I came up with an interesting thing. I'm not going to remember the exact numbers, but it essentially turned out to an 80-20 principle. Again, 80% of people wanted to, but what I found was, of the people who said they wanted to write a book, it was only 59% on LinkedIn, but there was a 16% of my group that actually have written a book. So I would say they're part of the class of I want to write a book, right? They're in that 80 number, and it added up to 80, whatever that split was. It was essentially 55 or 65 and 15 or whatever, added up to 80. So my own study confirmed those numbers, or at least gave me a similar result. But LinkedIn in general had a higher amount of people who actually wrote a book. And so I thought that was also intriguing. And I think, that's one of the reasons why I'm on LinkedIn. It's the largest network of buyers of any, it's the highest income average. It's got the highest level amount of executives on it. And so if I'm going to do my creator world, I want to do it on LinkedIn. So that
Cool.
kind of like tie back to where we started.
Yeah. Speaking of which, and I'm looking at the clock, and one of the things I hate about my show is it ends, especially when we have interesting conversation with interesting dudes and dudettes like you. You're not a dudette, but you know what I mean.
But I am a flavor of lemonade, though.
That's right, you are.
Yeah, I did want to ask about that. I mean, I'm sure it has bourbon in it, right? Or
Could be.
yeah.
Could be now, because I've tried it, and bourbon's not as bad as what I once
I
thought
know.
it was.
I mean, they might call that a whiskey sour, but well.
Call it what you like, right?
Sorry to interrupt you, Phil. You're trying
No,
to
it's okay.
you're trying to send me off. My time's
No, I'm
up.
not. You're staying right here for a minute, because we got work to do, and I just have to go and do my thing here, and I'm going to do it right now, because this is where people could get. We've been talking about LinkedIn, so I thought we better bring up LinkedIn, and it's really hard to read that, so I'm going to make it easy for people to find you right there.
Woo-hoo.
So that's what he looks like. If you're not following him right now, if you're not connected to him right now, I'm going, why not? Now there's no excuses. You can look for him here. If you are yourself are interested in writing a book, or you know of somebody who's kind of talked about it, maybe an introduction to this young fella is the right thing to do for you. And I'm going to bring up something else, because I do this differently. And this book is available. Not from his LinkedIn site, I don't think so. I'll get rid of that. I'll get rid of that. There we go. But this is what it looks like. You can go to Amazon, I believe, maybe Barnes and Noble and other places to get it.
Yeah, you should be. I believe it's on Barnes and Noble. It's definitely on Amazon. I think it's $19.99 right now for the print, and I can't remember what the ebook version is. Coach Phil, actually, I don't mind if you show that, by the way. So here, a lot of people, this is a topic, and we can talk about it if we have time, but self-publishing has some benefits, and a lot of people want to be published or chosen. I've chosen myself. And one of the benefits of being self-published is I have 100% control of my book. And Coach Phil, being a very generous leader in his seminars, wants to give additional gifts to his clients. And he has a special edition of Customer Delight that we've created to share with his clients. And so, you wouldn't be able to do that if you got published by, Penguin or Random House, or, by self-publishing, you hang on to your control, and you can do fun things and really leverage your content to your benefit. So I appreciate you sharing my book so widely, Coach.
I forgot I had a plug in there. That was anyway. That's the one that I have permission to share out.
And as my Customer Delight factor was when Coach and Phil and I came up with that idea to share that with his clients. I came back and I said, "What if I made a custom cover for you?" I mean, I figured that would be a delightful way to make your giveaway even better. Is that it was a purely Coach Phil branded cover.
Yeah, it worked out really well. Whether they're using it like you and I do or have, but that's unfortunate, but they should. Oh, I hear I'm shooting on people. I'm not about shooting on people, because you say should 5 times fast. It doesn't sound like should. It sounds like something you might want to stop doing yourself. One of my coach mentors along the way pointed that out a whole bunch of decades ago. What's one? You shared a whole bunch of nuggets. We're kind of going over time, but that's all right for a little bit. I don't want to go too long. I want to keep the audience somewhat interested in what we're talking about. If there was one thing you wanted to impart upon us and our audience, whether they're watching live now or at a later time, what would you share with us?
Yeah, I think writing is an essential skill moving into the future of the world. Although AI is developing, you might say that is a bad sign for writing, but I say it's a good sign. It means that writing is even more important. It is so important that we've figured out ways to make it easier to write. And so just think about the future of the world. When I grew up, we didn't have email, we didn't have any of this. Right now, everything we do has a written element. We do business writing every day. I do, to think about how many emails you respond to in a given day, that might be a lifetime of letters for somebody in the 1920s. And so writing is essential to the future of the world. And so I think, that's why I want to be a part of the revolution of people writing books, posting to LinkedIn, sharing their ideas in written format. And it's not just about written format. Written format is the basis for live video and other mediums. But at the end of the day, I think writing is the best place to develop that content. Slow yourself down. Is that a nugget enough for you? I need to learn how to be more succinct.
No, that was good. It's all about writing. And I appreciate you taking the time of your crazy busy schedule and fitting us in today. I'm truly grateful. It's always good to hang out with you virtually and in person. Now I've had the pleasure of doing both a couple of times, so that's awesome. Again,
thanks, Coach.
Thanks for being here, my friend Brian.
Appreciate it.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks, buddy. Well, I don't know if you learned anything, but I did. So what he's saying is write. Whether you want to write a book or not, make up your mind. And if you don't beat yourself up. It's okay. And are you in part of the 80% of the world population that wants to write a book? Maybe you want to reach out to him and have a conversation and see if a book is in your going to be early on in your path or not at all. I'm sure he would take a short call, 20, 30 minutes, to help you explore and then find out more. And again, you can find him on LinkedIn. You can watch the replay of this. If you like what we were talking about, and you like what Brian's about, share this out with your community. Let them see that this is available. It's on YouTube. It's on LinkedIn. It's in a variety of different places. So please do that. And as one of my coach mentors over the years pointed out to me, I want you guys to all do this when I get there. I think it's going to be this one today. No, I don't like that one. It's going to be this one. Be the you and wonderful represents you and you're unique. So be your unique, wonderful self. Continue to do that. Don't settle for mediocrity. Set some goals. Write a book. Write an article. Don't write anything. Set a goal. What do you want to do? And go after it. Make the work. Keep your word to yourself. Like Brian could stop. He's reached his goal. He's identified what's important to him. But he's going to continue with the initial goal, which got him on this path, and that's writing unstoppable posts on LinkedIn for 2 years. He might go longer, but that he can do a stop and reassess. So until next time, I am Coach Phil, your host of the Business Renovator, and thank you for being here with us today, wherever you are. Maybe it's the evening, maybe it's the morning, maybe it's the replay. If it's a replay, hashtag replay. Until we meet again, I'm signing out.
I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.